welcome to today's video. Today we're going to go through the buyer's roadmap. The buyer's roadmap is an explanation of what you need to do to be able to qualify and ultimately get those keys in your hands. A lot of people believe they have to find the home before the loan, or spring's the best time to buy. All lenders are the same. I'm here to bust those myths today. So grab your coffee, sit down, and let's work through this. But first, cue the reel. This was me, Nurse Emily. And when COVID hit, I found out how important this was because it housed these people. My little circus. And maybe it housed my best friend too. I long for the days where I could be there for my children, whether that's because they're sick or because they're doing something fun, like a field trip. And of course, where there's a will, there's a way. And my best friend helped me find my way. And so now, this is me, your eXp Realtor. All right, guys, so before we get started, there's a link in the bio for this roadmap if you want to follow along. Feel free to take notes, ask questions. I'm here, and I'd love to answer your questions. So let's start with step one. Step one is meeting with your agent. I'm based in Southern Maryland, and when I meet with my clients, I typically like to sit down over coffee. I love coffee. Whether that be face-to-face, a Zoom, FaceTime, whatever works better for them. That way we can start to build that relationship. I understand what your goals are for your home, and we can start to dream the big dreams. I also tell my clients, if you're filling out your wish list, you should do it separate from your spouse. The reason from this is because I know that when I started doing my own wish list, my husband is from Rochester, New York, and he's a Navy guy. His wish list and his fear of spiders is much different than mine. So I grew up in the middle of cornfields in Southern Maryland, so I wanted land. And we have a Border Collie Blue Heeler mix, so he needed some room to run. So my big thing on my wish list, I wanted land. He wanted a nice house. So sometimes your wish list can be a little bit different. I also wanted to mention that in Maryland, you have the advantage as the buyer when it comes to paying for your agent. A lot of buyers believe that they have to come up with the money and they stress out for their agent. And that's not true. The seller is actually the one who pays for your agent. The commissions are split 50-50 and it's a percentage of the home. So I just want to start out by saying, if that's a worry you have, don't worry about it because it's not even a real concern, okay? The other thing I wanted to mention is that if for some reason your agent hands you a piece of paper and says, hey, I need you to sign this before we go and open some doors, that is a real thing. There's something called a buyer-broker agreement. My brokerage requires it before I open any doors. What that says is that I am allowed to represent you as my client and that anything that you tell me is actually confidential and I don't disclose anything to the seller or the seller's agent. In Maryland, if there is no documentation stating that you represent someone other than the seller, even if you're not their agent, you represent their interest. So it's important to read first, but sign the documentation that states you do want your agent, or me, if you're in Southern Maryland, to be your agent. Okay, I know you're listening intently, but don't forget to sip that coffee because that's important. Let's get into step two. Step two, getting pre-approved. So before I said a lot of people think that you have to find a home and then be pre-approved. It's actually the opposite. If you do your pre-approval before and you find the home of your dreams, your offer is actually a little bit better than the person who is still waiting for any kind of approval. The other thing that I tell people, because I like to use analogies, is not being pre-approved is like walking in wedding shopping and picking the biggest, most sparkly wedding dress off the rack the first time you see it and never looking at the price tag. You fall in love with this dress and then you look at the price tag and it's $10,000 and your budget is about $1,200, or if you're me, $200. So that leads to big time disappointment, and that's certainly not something that you want. So it's important to get pre-approved to figure out what your budget is. It's also important to understand who your lender is. There's a ton of people that love to go with big banks, or they like to go online and just find a random mortgage company. And I'm here to tell you that's probably not the best thing to do. I always recommend my clients go to local lenders, not because there's any kind of kickback, but simply because you build a relationship with them and ultimately they are looking out for you, even if you're not in the market for a mortgage right now. I know that when my husband and I were looking for our home, before we even signed a piece of paper where our lender got paid, he gave us advice about how to increase our credit score, how to decrease debt, where we needed to be in the next 5 years. Those were all significant pieces of information that we used, and we didn't pay a dime. Now, granted, we did end up going with him as a lender because he was a wealth of knowledge, but that's what you're looking for in a lender. You want someone who's going to be there, obviously, when you need the loan, but you also want someone there through the length of the loan. And for some people, that's 30 years. So it's important to pick your lender wisely. You don't want someone who's just going to fall off the face of the earth after you sign a piece of paper and they get paid. It's also important to know that when you get pre-approved, you will need your W-2s and pay stubs. This is completely normal, I promise. Please have those available. I promise they're not going to ask you for your firstborn child, maybe not even your third. But it is important to have your financial documentation readily available so that you can quickly be pre-approved so that it's easier to find the home of your dreams. Step 3, the stinking fun part. Your agent is going to take the criteria that you have given them, bedrooms, bathrooms, pool, garage, 5 million acres, all of it, and plug it into the MLS or multiple listing site. During this time, all of these wonderful homes will pop up, those that are active, those that are coming soon, those that have been there and have gone off the market, and they're going to be able to see everything just for you. So, it's important to understand too that working with an agent is one of the benefits of searching for a home because they're able to line up homes that the general public's not going to be able to see. On an MLS, a coming soon status means it's not currently active, so you're not able to go view it just yet. But there's always a date attached when it will be available, so you could be the first one in the door. How fantastic is that? Step 4. Make an offer. So your agent is going to prepare the contract on the terms and the price that you agree on. Now, it's important to know that your agent isn't an expert in real estate. That is their job. So do take their advice. But ultimately, it is you who will be paying the mortgage. So you have to be comfortable with the price point and the terms that are set. But you're one step closer. Step 5. Are you still drinking that coffee? I am. Negotiations and contract. So during this time, you may go back and forth with the seller's agent. That's okay. Don't worry about that. Just because they're coming back doesn't mean you're out of the game, right? So during this time, you may negotiate a different price. You may negotiate a different time frame, but nonetheless, you're still on the road to getting your new home. The contract is what states the time frame you have to do that. So things such as appraisal or inspections, financing, it literally outlines everything. And in Maryland, it's 11 pages long. So aren't you glad you have that agent that's filling that out for you? In escrow, step 6. What does that mean? Basically, you're putting down a percentage of money, normally anywhere from 1 to 3%, saying in good faith, you want this home. I like to call it the layaway of the housing market. So basically, you're asking someone to take their home off the market. So you're giving them money to tell them, I'm serious about my offer. But, you guessed it, you're a step closer to those keys being yours. Step 7, fine details. So during this step is when you're going to be ordering those appraisals, those inspections, going over the terms with the lender. You're going to be reviewing the results from the inspection. These are all the little pieces that are all coming together. During your inspection, you could be looking for things like mold, termites, all the things that don't make you feel great inside. But you want to make sure that you're not buying a home that has those things. So it is certainly a necessary evil. Same thing with an appraisal. An appraisal is basically saying, okay, I'm giving you $450,000 for this home. I want to make sure that that home is actually worth that amount of money. Of course, you wouldn't want to have a $30,000 car and pay $100,000 for it now, would you? So it's just everybody doing their due diligence. But guess what? One step closer. Last stinking step. Step 8, closing. So during this time is when you're going to meet with a title company or an attorney, and you're going to sign all of that paperwork. This is where the funds are transferred, the keys are transferred, and you're now a homeowner. Congratulations. You guys, I had so much fun with this video, and I hope you did too. I hope it was at least a little bit helpful for you. So if you're looking to relocate because of the naval base, Pax River, or if you want a quiet space to live, let me know and I'd love to show you. I absolutely love where I live. After all, I'm raising my own family here. So if there's a question you have or a place that you want to see, I'd be happy to show you, whether FaceTime, in person, or just call me about it. So drop a comment and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.